everyone, and welcome inside the UC Health Training Center for another edition of Broncos Weekend. I'm Alexis Perry, joined by Broncos insider for KOA Radio, Benjamin Allbright, and of course the Hall of Famer Steve Atwater. Steve, sad to see that you are no longer wearing the gold jacket after the Ravens snapped the Broncos' 3-game win streak, but I have a feeling your other coats enjoy seeing the light of day as well.
Yeah, they enjoy seeing the light of day, and it's kind of like back in the mid to late 90s when Mike Shanahan would give us hat day when we won football games. But you just wear our baseball caps to practice on Fridays, and we could lift at any time we wanted to on Mondays. But when we didn't win, no hat days. We had to come in there with the team on Monday. It just made it a whole drawn-out process. So, get back to winning. I had a gold jacket on.
Okay, we cannot wait to see that gold jacket again, Steve, for what it's worth. Well, the effects of that Broncos and Ravens game are still being felt. We all remember seeing Teddy Bridgewater take that high hit late in the first half. That put him into concussion protocol, and he has made progress throughout the week. However, it seems like his status for Sunday will be a game-time decision. So as we take a look at the quarterback comparison for this week, let's assume Teddy will be ready and Ben Roethlisberger will battle his way through injuries as well. Let's begin with Bridgewater, though. His Week 4 outing wasn't going well before he was knocked out of the game, able to convert on just 1 of 7 third-down attempts. He was sacked twice. Steve, do you feel like there's anything specifically he needs to improve on, or do you feel like it's really this offense as a whole that really needs to step up?
Yeah, well, I'm sure Teddy Bridgewater feels like there's something that he can improve on, but I would say, first of all, it starts with that offensive line, making sure that they're protecting him, making sure that Garrett Bowles is feeling the way that he feels about his wife, the way he always says. I love it when he says that. The offensive line, they have to be better up front. They can't allow him to get hit as much as he gets hit. And with Teddy Bridgewater, when he's going up against defense that are really good, like the Baltimore Ravens defense, you got to get the ball out a little bit quicker, too.
Right. Well, the wily old vet, Ben Roethlisberger, he is dealing with a pec issue. His hip, he said, is all sorts of black and blue, but he is definitely not trying to make excuses for his team's 3-game skids. So, Ben, what makes Big Ben such a big threat, even if he is a little bit banged up?
Well, his mind. He's been around the game a long time, and we've seen what happens to a quarterback when they lose some of their physical prowess but still have the brain intact. We saw Peyton Manning lead this team to a Super Bowl doing it. So for Ben Roethlisberger, it's having seen everything that's out there and processing that stuff quickly and getting the football out quickly to compensate for the fact that he's got a bad O-line and he's banged up.
While the aerial attack will be important, I have a feeling both of these teams will look to get back to the ground game this week as we take a look at the running back battle between the top 2 guys at their position in the 2021 draft, Najee Harris and Javonte Williams. Steve, starting with Javonte, the guy had the highlight of the game carrying a pack of Ravens on his back, nearly 20 yards on that 31-yard run. Just how critical will his involvement and really the run game in general be this week if the Broncos hope to leave Heinz Field with the win?
Oh, I definitely think it's going to be important. I think it's important that the Broncos continue what they had been doing the first 3 games when they had so much success, and that is control the ball by running the ball, having an effective run game that opens up the play-action pass, makes the play-action pass that much more effective, and opens up passes down the field as well, and that's where Teddy Bridgewater can thrive in that environment.
Ben, Najee Harris has been used mainly as a pass catcher this year for Pittsburgh, but he has 55 carries for 185 yards and a touchdown in 4 games. The Steelers, however, they rank dead last in rushing attempts and rushing yards this season. So how big of a role do you think Harris will have in Pittsburgh's game plan on the ground specifically this week as they hope to end their 3 games?
Well, he needs to have one. He needs to have a big role. You look at that. You talked about being dead last in rushing, and that's a problem. Now defenses can pin their ears back against an offensive line that's overmatched. You need to get that offensive line going downhill, and they brought Matt Canada, the offensive coordinator, in there to run the ball more this year, and they've run the ball less. So Pittsburgh's got to figure it out, and the way to protect your offensive line is run the football.
Well, on the defensive side, we usually pick out an individual to highlight, but given the fact that these have been 2 of the top defenses in the league the past couple of years, I figured we could compare collective units 4 games into the 2021 season. So the Broncos being the better of the 2 this year, even coming off a tough game against Baltimore, Denver still held the Ravens to the fewest rushing yards of the Lamar Jackson era, but didn't get the much-needed takeaway that we are waiting for all games. So, Ben, what needs to change defensively from last week into this week if they hope to get a win?
Well, you got to get more pressure on the quarterback. Now, they were playing contain against Lamar Jackson, didn't want him to get out and use their legs. I don't think that's going to be a problem with Ben Roethlisberger. Get playmakers on the field. I need to see more Caden Sterns. Caden Sterns is getting out there with limited snaps, making plays. I need to see more of the guy.
Yes, of course. Steve, TJ Watt, He has been an absolute monster for the Steelers this year. 5 sacks, 8 quarterback hits. But Coach Fangio said on Thursday that it's really his football instincts that help him take his game to the next level. So how can the Broncos make him a non-factor, if possible?
I don't know if you can make him a non-factor. He's such a great player. He's on the caliber of a Von Miller type player. Right now he's second in the NFL with the most sacks, with 5 sacks. Really been doing a phenomenal job coming off the edge. We saw him last year, what he could do. He's been effective in every game that he's played against. He got good genes that run in that Watt family. So, we can expect him to be great. We just got to make sure that we're doing our part in blocking him as well as we can.
Of course, Vic Fangio did say on Thursday that Graham Glasgow and Dalton Reisner look to be ready to go for this game on Sunday against the Steelers. So that's great news, especially for Teddy Bridgewater. He will need some extra protection coming out of concussion protocol. All right, guys, still to come here on Broncos Weekend. The Broncos and Steelers have met 25 times in the regular season dating back to 1970, but it's the postseason meetings that we'll never forget. We'll relive some of the greatest moments between these two teams next.
The Steelers and the Broncos are two of the NFL's flagship franchises, with history dating back to 1970. That year, Denver won the first ever meeting 16-13 thanks to a Billy Van Eusen touchdown catch from 38 yards out. The most eventful games between these two sides always seem to occur in the postseason, where Denver holds a 5-3 advantage over Pittsburgh all time. In 1977, the Broncos beat the Steelers 34-21 in the AFC divisional round en route to their first ever Super Bowl appearance. 20 years later, in the 1997 playoffs, the Broncos were crowned AFC champions in the Steel City, beating the Steelers 24-21 thanks to 4 takeaways by the Denver defense and 139 yards rushing by Terrell Davis. Late-game heroics are another hallmark to this rivalry. Few plays are more memorable than what took place on January 8, 2012, as Tim Tebow found Demaryius Thomas on the first play of overtime to beat Pittsburgh 29-23 in the AFC wildcard round.
Foot race, 20, 15, 10, touchdown! Denver is over! It's over in Denver!
And in one of the most recent meetings, Shelby Harris's goal line interception in the final minutes helped seal a shocking win as the Broncos vanquished Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers 24-17.
Snap, quick pass to the middle, intercepted in the end zone! Intercepted by Shelby Harris!
If Denver can once again find some magic and get a win in Pittsburgh on Sunday, it would be their first win on the road against the Steelers since 2006.
Welcome back to Broncos Weekend. Like Matt just mentioned, Steve, the Broncos defense had 4 takeaways in that 1997 AFC Championship game. But something that he did not mention is that one of those takeaways, interception in the end zone, I should point out, should have been yours.
Yeah, that was a great pass thrown by the quarterback, Cordell Stewart. And Ray Crockett and I went up and we both almost came down with it. He came down with it. I was happy to see it was him that had it versus the receiver. Yes, you think, man.
What did you say to him after he snatched that ball out of your hand?
I told him, congratulations, nice catch.
Classic Steve Atwater, the nicest guy on the field. But you know what? That wasn't the first time you saw the Steelers in the postseason. Of course, you played them your rookie season, AFC divisional round. What do you remember about that game? Well,
I just remember me having a collision with one of their tight ends. I don't remember his name right now. And we won the game. Those are the only 2 things I remember.
You guys went on, played in the Super Bowl that year, however, fell, unfortunately. But you know what? You had a stellar rookie season. So good work, Steve Atwater.
Thank you. Hey, it was a lot of fun.
Well, there's another rookie who is looking to put together a stellar first year here in the NFL, and that is defensive back Caden Sterns, who you guys saw draped all over Lamar Jackson on Sunday, not once, but twice. He has been playing mostly in dime packages, actually solely in dime packages, but he's not letting limited reps limit his impact on the game.
3 by 1, 3 to the wide side left. Jackson lifts a knee, snap clock at 4. They bring the house again. Jackson in the pocket, hit and knocked down for a sack at the 17-yard line. That's Caden Sterns' 2nd sack of the game.
I'm just out there just trying to do what I can do to help the team win, whatever that looks like. So I'm going to be 100% and give all I can give and just make the tackle. Coach had a really big emphasis on, don't go for the ball when you sack, make sure you wrap him up because, he's a very elusive guy. So I did just that, make sure I got him on the ground.
They do pressure. Jackson in the pocket is hit and pulled down, and the pressure got home. Sterns was there, and so was Von Miller.
He played a heck of a game. Obviously had limited snaps, and obviously had 2 sacks, 2 big sacks. And that's not easy with someone like Lamar in the pocket being able to escape like he can. So, but that's expected of him. Kareem and I have talked about it since he's gotten here. He's picked up the playbook really well, and we expecting him to make more plays like that throughout the year.
With the 2 safeties that we have, they're the best in the league, and I will argue with anybody who says differently. So again, my job is just to support them and be ready whenever something were to happen. But my role is to play dom. Pat is a really good corner, obviously, so playing dom, it's a lot more man. I play safety, so coming from far, we don't really play up close to receivers like that. So I will ask him a lot of questions, like as far as technique-wise, so he'll definitely help me with that. And then scheme-wise, we just bounce back and forth. Like if you see something, like what are you seeing right here? How can I help you? Stuff like that. So with those guys, it's support. We're a brotherhood here, so that's how we treat it.
Ben, 35 total defensive snaps for Caden Sterns this season. He has 5 tackles, 2 for loss, 2 sacks, 3 passes defensed, and an interception. When was the last time you saw someone so effective in so few snaps?
I can't think of anybody that would be that effective in that few snaps, but I'll tell you what came to mind the minute I saw him doing all this kind of stuff and having that nose for the football is Tyrann Mathieu. I mean, I don't want to invoke that kind of greatness right off the bat, but Tyrann Mathieu was that guy at LSU, he's that guy at Arizona, he's that guy at Kansas City, and Caden Sterns, he's always around the ball. Caden Sterns, always around the football. Let's get this guy more snaps. That's my dude. We got to get him more snaps.
Steve, as a true safety, what do you think some of the challenges are from playing safety and base to then playing dime?
Yeah, well, he played mostly free safety in college, so he didn't really play against a lot of man-to-man against tight ends. But I think one of the challenges for any safety that's going from playing 10, 12 yards deep to being up in the box, your peripheral vision is cut down. You can see a lot less, and stuff happens so much quicker. And you got to make the right decisions, and you got to be right, and you got to make quicker decisions because everything's on you right away. And can't forget about those offensive linemen who are going to try to get on you and hold you and push you around. So I thought he did a really good job of being in the right place, knowing what he had to do, disguising, and then making the blitz and actually making the play once he got there.
Well, guys, Caden Sterns and Pat Surtain both need just 1 interception to be the first rookie since Justin Simmons in 2016 to have multiple interceptions in their first year in the league. So prediction time. Do you think it could happen this Sunday? Ben, let's start with you.
Well, not only do I think it could happen, the last guy it would happen to, Justin Simmons, guaranteed me it was going to happen. So I'm gonna take his word over anything else. I think it could happen. Justin says it's going to happen.
What exactly did he say to you?
He said, I guarantee he's going to get another one.
Guaranteed it.
Wow.
I love it. Steve, what do you think?
Well, I absolutely think it's going to happen. I think they're going to be in a lot of dime defense with the talented wide receiving core that the Pittsburgh Steelers have, and that'll give Caden Sterns more opportunities to play, and he's been around the ball. He's had great hands. He got interceptions when he was a freshman at the University of Texas, and I'm sure it was difficult to come in and play as a freshman there. So him being a rookie is not surprising that he's having the success that he's having.
Well, and Pat Surtain, he was day-to-day throughout practice this week. I think he'll have some great opportunities this Sunday as well. But still to come here on Broncos Weekend, Matt Boyer is catching up with Broncos resident whiz kid Andrew Mason to get his take on what the Broncos need to do in order to leave Pittsburgh victorious. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Broncos Weekend. As the Denver Broncos head to the Steel City this Sunday, Matt Boyer is catching up with DNVR's Andrew Mason to learn who needs to step up defensively if they hope to shut down the Steelers. Matt, over to you.
Thank you, Alexis. Mace, good to see you in person after long last.
Yeah, I haven't been in the studio in a minute.
Looks great,
because
doesn't it?
Because of COVID. It's wonderful to be back here. It's exactly as I remember it.
Mace, big storylines this week, the quarterback position on both sides. Let's get to the Broncos first. Teddy Bridgewater in the concussion protocol, meaning Drew Lock gets the reps with the first team for most of the week. Most Broncos fans sit back and say, you know what, as long as Teddy's healthy on Sunday, it doesn't matter. But how important are those practice reps here as we move towards Pittsburgh?
Well, they're essential, especially because you're still shorthanded at wide receiver. And of course, you're not going to have Jerry Jeudy. KJ Hamler's out for the season. You're incorporating David Moore in there a lot, and David spoke to me this week about how he's had to work extra after practice. He's gotten a lot of good work with the quarterbacks, a lot of good work with Zach Azzani, but it's things like that that you're missing with him not being out there full tilt. Now, that being said, everything goes well and he's practicing Friday, then that should be enough. Friday, and generally speaking with most coaches, Friday is the day that if you practice, you're gonna be able to play. Without that, it's tough. So it does have an impact, but also Teddy, 8-year veteran, very mature. He can get a lot from those mental reps that he's still going to be able to get.
On the other side, in the Steel City, Ben Roethlisberger hasn't been great so far this season, but feels a little 2015 Peyton Manning-ish to me, where the physicality, the mobility might not be there, but this is a guy who can still hurt you based on his familiarity in the offense. What do you think the Broncos need to respect the most about his game going into this one?
The fact that even though he's in year 18 and he's struggling to push the ball downfield, he's still able to buy time with his feet. You know, Ben's never been a guy who's going to take off and run for 20 or 25 yards, at least not since his rookie or second season. But he has that preternatural feel for the pass rush. Step up, step back, do a little sidestep, and buy time even though he's not mobile in terms of straight line foot speed. He can still buy that time. And because of that, then on the back end, even though he doesn't have the same vertical strike ability that he had before, he's still giving his receivers time to kind of break off their routes, and that's where at the back end you've got to plaster their wide receivers even after they've broken things off. So he still causes a lot of problems. That being said, last 5 games dating back to that playoff game against Cleveland, 8 touchdowns, 8 picks. He's not as accurate as he was.
Mace, nobody knows the history of the Denver Broncos better than you, at least from what I've seen. And we've seen some.
Except Jim Sacamano. I've got to give Sacco, who I talk with probably several times a week, I've got to give him his props.
Well, you are both very familiar with the running back matchups historically in this head-to-head series. You've got Franco and Little, the Bus and TD. Are we seeing the next generation of this in Najee Harris and Javonte Williams this week?
I hope so. Now, Najee Harris, you look at his per carry average on the ground, it's not great. Part of that is the Steelers' offensive line. This is not a vintage Steelers OL. They're a long way from when Mike Munchak was coaching them a few years ago. And they've had injuries on top of that. And so they're fighting it up front. But the thing is, they're still getting Najee the ball in space. He leads the Steelers in receptions. And he leads the Steelers in targets right now. But you can kind of see all the pieces there. Now with Javonte Williams, that 31-yard run, just a thing of beauty that we saw. Melvin Gordon's having a good season too. But with Javonte, you got that kind of glimpse. It reminded me of, remember Mike Allstott back in the day, and Chris Berman would get on ESPN and go boom, boom, boom. And in my mind, as he's breaking tackle after tackle, and guys and he's bouncing off guys, and it's just, you can hear it, and you can feel the energy in the crowd, like how it just kind of, with every guy that he shed, and every tackler they carried, you could feel the wave of the crowd just rising. It was such a cool moment. But yeah, I think we're seeing a future running back duel between these teams. And you know, the Broncos Steelers, it's a sneaky good rivalry, even though they don't play all that often. Played some big playoff games over the years, and hopefully in the near future we'll see him play another big game like that again.
We've covered the ground last week in the air for the Broncos defense. Wasn't great. They gave up 316 yards passing to Lamar Jackson. That Ravens group, had some great weapons, and this week the Steelers are also bringing some great weapons to the field. Who do you think on the Broncos defense needs to have a great game in order for the Broncos to stop that offensive attack of the Steelers?
Well, I think you're going to need to see a little bit more from the safeties. It was a rough game last week for Justin Simmons and Kareem Jackson on the back end, and Justin talked about communication. That's something that they worked extensively on in practice this week to make sure that doesn't happen again. They're such a good combination. I don't think we're going to see 2 iffy games from them in a row. I think we're going to see them back to their normal level, so they'll step up. That makes it harder even when the Steelers receivers are able to break off their routes when Ben buys time in the pocket. So they do well. I think we're going to see at least 1 interception from Kareem Jackson and Justin Simmons on Sunday, and I think they're going to step up in a big way.
It'll be a repeat performance of what happened last year when Simmons got a pick in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Denver hasn't won, though, Mace, in Pittsburgh since 2006. So how does a win in the Steel City change the narrative around this team as we head into the second quarter of 2021?
Well, before the Raven game, I discussed this on radio and on podcasts as well, that if you got to 4-1, I was looking at these games as kind of a couple. If you get to 4-1, you split the two of them, you're where you want to be, you're where you need to be. Now, that being said, Baltimore, if you'd beaten them, it would have shown, okay, the ceiling's pretty high. So we're not going to get that. But if you win this game, you're 4-1. You got the Raiders and Browns, Washington, Dallas, a really tough 4-game stretch coming up here. So you've ensured that you're still going to be in good shape, even if you struggle against those 4 teams. And then I think it's a tough road win that you cannot overstate the significance of going to Heinz Field and winning, even though the Steelers probably look like the 4th best team in the AFC North right now. It's a prideful organization. They're desperate sitting at 1-3. They're going to come with both barrels, so to speak. So to get a win here, 4-1, get confidence going against the Raiders the following week, because as a lot of coaches have said, division games count double. You got to have that one. Confidence is really going to help going into that Raider game.
Very good. Mace, we can find you at Mace Denver on Twitter, yep. DNVR Sports. Where else, Mace? Also, Mile High Sports, 4 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday with Eric Goodman on the radio, 98.1 FM, milehighsports.com worldwide. Very good. Great to see you as always. Alexis, we are going to send it back to you.
Thanks so much, Matt. Steve, we love hearing from Andrew Mason, but now it is time for my favorite part of the show, Steve's Keys. Of course, the Broncos, they do not want losses to pile up, so as they get back into the saddle on Sunday, what are a few things they really need to focus on in order to get a win?
Well, I would say offensively, I would say we got to get the run game going, and we got to stick with it throughout the game. As you know, the run game makes the play-action pass that much more effective, and it also eats time off the clock, helps with that time of possession. And on the defensive side of the ball, I would say with Ben Roethlisberger having some problems getting the ball to his receivers right now, let's only rush 4 to start the game off, but if he gets hot and he starts hitting his receivers, turn up the pressure, let Von Miller go, let Jonathan Cooper go, let them get to the quarterback and get him out of his comfort zone.
I absolutely love it. You know, I know Matt always adds in his key to the game as well, so I feel like I should do the same. Mine is actually really similar to yours, though, and it is the clock battle, time of possession. That is a stat the Denver Broncos absolutely dominated in those 3 games leading up to that Ravens game last Sunday. So I really think they need to get back to that. That is how they're able to sustain drives, utilizing Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams. They could really lull the defense to sleep, run a few run plays in a row, and then big bang, Teddy Bridgewater, deep ball to Cortland Sutton or Tim Patrick. I'm feeling it this week, Steve.
I like it. Can I use that one too?
You can take it.
All right, these are our keys to get. We got 3 keys.
These are our keys to the game. All right, the Broncos are looking to make it 4-1 as they hope to leave Heinz Field with a win for the first time since 2006. No matter what the outcome, though, be sure to join me on Tuesday for Broncos Country Connected at 6:30 on Denver 7 or at 7 o'clock right here on the Broncos YouTube channel. For Matt Boyer and the Hall of Famer Steve Atwater, I'm Alexis Perry. We will see you next week, Broncos Country.